Hey, how's it going? Gonna turn the light on there. Um, Welcome. Sorry, this isn't the best lighting. Hi, how are you? Anyways, we'll have to deal with this lighting, but it looks more kind of like my old laptop, but I promise it's not. Just have to. I'm trying to find if I can. Anyways, my name is Jarrett Earl Casey. It's Saturday, the 2nd of January in 2021. So happy New Year's. It's 8:29 p.m. and I'm at my parents' house in Ogden, Utah. I actually think I'm gonna head over into this room because I don't like this lighting. So, let's put this here. Maybe. um, Sorry I missed you yesterday, and I think probably the day before because yeah, it was New Year's Eve and I just went to bed at like 11. I had my mom over that night. She came, she was like, "Do you want to come up here? I'm making gumbo." I thought, no, she goes, "Or I can come down there." And I was like, "Yeah, I'd rather you come here." So she came down to Midvale and brought some gumbo with her, and we watched Mulan. And she slept in my bed. I slept on the couch, but we didn't quite make it to midnight. I went to bed at like 11. I woke up at 12:03 though, and then went back to sleep, and that's kind of how that went. And then the next morning, we just got up and had a little bit of tea and breakfast tea. And then we went up north to back up here. So, where did she? Anyways, and then I came back down to Midvale yesterday. I took the car because I had to get my computer from my work from home job the assignment just ended together, and there was a headset that I left at the apartment. So I went down to go get that and put it on the box. I went to go ship it today. I actually went to go ship it yesterday, but it was New Year's, so FedEx was closed. And then today I noticed not only is there a problem with the label, it has my name spelled wrong. Which right now, just given all the funky stuff going on in life, I'm like, I need it to be accurate. It needs to show exactly that it's coming from who it went to. It's Jarrett, Jarret. It needs to be spelled that way. But I noticed that the label had been originally sent to someone else completely, someone named Evan. So it was sent to Evan, but it had my name spelled wrong. And then it came from someone else there to me. And I was like, you know what? It just seems weird. It's important. This is a lot of money's worth of equipment. So I replied to the email and I said, hey, if I not only is my name spelled wrong, but I just noticed that it didn't even it went to someone named Evan originally, but said Dear Jarrett. And it just seems weird. So if you could please just generate a whole new e-label for me, make sure my name's spelled right, make sure it just comes directly from you or directly to me, and then I'll have it shipped. So that's what I sent today. It's really annoying because I would very much like to get rid of this computer and just send it back and just have it all behind me. But just with all the changes in my world, as far as just every day I wake up and I feel like I'm in a new dimension or something. And just with the experience of what was going on while I was working there were already all kinds of communications that were not accurate, and evasive, and I'm like, I need it to be accurate. So to send this in, I don't want to be responsible for this equipment not making its way back. And I know that by not sending it, you could argue that it's not making its way back. But really, I just need a correct label, spelled correctly, and then it will make its way back. So hopefully they can get that to me soon, and I can get that on its way. So, and then I went home last night, was kind of cleaning a little bit and hanging out with Charlotte. I laid down on the bed, and for some reason, the bed, when I laid down on it, it started like draining all the energy from my arm, and I thought, oh wow, this really hurts. It doesn't hurt, but and I got up, and then I laid back down, and I'm like, I heard someone say, "That's my bed now," like a ghost or a spirit or something, and I'm like, no, actually, it's my bed. I pay the rent. That's my bed. So I kind of fought back, and then I laid down again, and it started happening again. So I thought, okay, well, I'm not going to fight about this right now. So I'm just going to go sleep on the couch. So I went and slept on the couch. But this morning, I got up and I pulled all the linens off the bed. I put them in the wash, and then I flipped the mattress up, knowing that I wasn't going to be staying there for a little while, just to kind of reclaim the bed, because I think there are some people on the other side who think they can claim it over me and then make it so that I can't even sleep on it. It's like, well, that's my bed. So I moved it into this apartment. I pay the rent. Those are my bed linens. I'm going to lay in this bed. So I don't mind sleeping on the couch every once in a while, but I need to be able to sleep in my own bed. So, then I came up this morning and just spent the whole day here. I'm debating going. I'm 8 months clean. Yay! Even though it's been a rough weekend, I was tempted yesterday to reach out to my old dealer. Don't worry, I didn't, and I'm fine. But it was just a really dark day. It was very difficult. I heard more screaming, distant screaming. I don't know where it's coming from. It's still at the apartment down there. It still feels like it's coming from the underground somewhere, like underneath the building. But I don't know what to do about it. I don't know if I told you guys, or you, one person that watches. I did try calling the police about it, because I've been hearing it off and on for months, and so I think I finally was like, because I hear people say, you need to call police. I'm like, and say what? Like, I hear screaming, but I can't see where it's from, and there's nothing going on. But finally, I was like, okay, I'll do it. So I called, and they pretty much were like, do you have a medication you're supposed to take? Do you have someone you can talk to? I'm like, no and yes, and it's fine. I just thought I'd call and let you know. But I asked, I said, I just really want to know if you guys work with psychics, if you have like a certified psychic you work with that you could send by and see if they're picking up on anything. That would be really great. That's really all I'm looking for. But he's like, no, we don't do anything like that. I'm like, okay, well, if I actually hear loud, real screaming, or if I witness anything or see anything suspicious, I'll call you guys back. But I just really felt moved to call. So that's what I did. But fast forward to today, just kind of walked around. I almost got a haircut, and then I thought, no, I can have my mom cut it. And I kind of looked for jobs online. I didn't apply for any, but I'm trying to brainstorm what kind of jobs I could work that have like a path or a future for growth, that I could still have this connection with. I have noticed my mind is way more clear, way, 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 way more clear. I don't talk to myself all the time in my head, and I think that that's going to be very helpful in looking for jobs. So Um, so I did that, and I'm just trying to, I guess, awaken more correctly. They keep I ate too many cookies today and I had too many chocolates, but I did eat vegetarian. Um, and I'm thinking about moving. I was eating meat sparingly, and I still eat meat sparingly, very sparingly, but I am thinking about moving all the way over to vegetarian, maybe pescatarian, but vegetarian, I think that might happen this year for me. And so I'm just kind of chewing that, like not chewing on that. That's a dumb phrase for that. I'm kind of mulling that over and letting it kind of explore itself in my mind and through each day and kind of come to some sort of a acceptance of that idea to maybe just be vegetarian. Um, so that was going on today. I um I wrote out. I was journaling a little bit. I wrote out some different options that I had about what to do next in life. So I had reached out to the rehab I went to last year called Diamond Tree Recovery, because the owner, we have a weekly alumni call usually, and the owner had been on one of the calls and told us, he's like, hey, if you guys ever, as alumni, if you ever want to come back for a week, that would be on us. We'd love to have you, just to like a refresh or whatever. Not even. I'm like, okay. So after all this psychic mental health crazy nightmare. I don't believe in nightmares, so I don't ever want to live in one or believe I'm living in one. Um, After that last couple weeks, I thought, oh my gosh, I really need to get out of my apartment. I need to get out of my parents' house. I'm hearing screaming in both those places. I'm hearing screaming at work at CPK. I've got all these energies going, like some places I'm like, oh, or I can feel it all draining, or I can feel like little attacks on me, like hexes or something. I'm like, I've got to go. I need to pull myself out of this situation. I thought maybe I'll take them up on that week. So I called Jordan and um, it's hard because the text message string between him and his wife, like the text messages made it sound like I'd relapsed. They were like, he really needs the help right now. I'm like, okay, so I didn't relapse. I'm 8 months clean. I just need to kind of stabilize. And so he reached out. We talked. He wants me to stay for 2 weeks, and so he could bill my insurance, which would leave me paying about $700, which is more than I mean, I have a couple $1,000, but I just paid my rent, so I guess I don't have a couple $1,000 now. And that's got to last me until I can find work. And I know that's hopefully not going to be difficult. I'm still praying for like my world to kind of come together and to step into a place where I can find good work. Working for a good company that's gonna pay, kind of my minimum amount to pay the bills. But for that 2 weeks, I thought, oh my gosh, that's a lot of time away from the house. I don't know how Jared's doing. That's my roommate's name. He seems to be kind of off right now too. And by two, I mean like, I don't know. But I just don't know. I don't know if he's working for the most reputable company either. So it's concerning that I just have all this. I'm like, what is going on? This 2020 is a year of like HR nightmare. Your whole world turning away from you or turning in on you, like let's see, just sadness, isolation, depression, confusion, and personal growth. Yay! Um, existential crises, and darkness, darkness trying to come up and swallow you. Someone says penance, facing your fears, and um, I would say forgiveness, but a lot of those things are really difficult. So it's just been a terrible year, and so I'm hoping this year I'm not going to have jobs that turn in on me or whatever, or that are HR nightmares. Because it's a weird. I feel like there's a metaphor. Like they're sending me a message that I'm an HR nightmare. I'm like, you guys are being HR nightmares. I'm like trying to help, trying to raise issues, getting different things, but with CPK, I could probably have reported something to people services. I might still do that. And with the temp company, I could file something with the FTC or something. But I looked that up and I don't even know how to do that. I'm like, oh my gosh, I just don't even know how to do this. And for someone that used to work in HR, you'd think I would, but I never received training on that stuff. I've never took any classes or had any certifications. It would be really cool to go through some of that and say, hey, in this experience or this situation, this is exactly what you would do, and learn all those things from someone and be able to share them with everyone I'm connected to, knowing I'm one with them, and knowing that how many people that would help that maybe would find themselves in those situations that are out of their control, through no fault of their own. But I just feel lost. I'm like, I just don't know what to do. I raised it with the leaders. I raised it with HR from both companies. At CPK, I raised stuff with leaders. I guess the next step would have been people services there. So the restaurant environment's a little scarier. A couple of the workers, I'm like, I think they would probably hurt me. But it's all happening at once though too, and it's like now my roommate's job. I'm like, I hear him. I'm not trying to listen in on his calls, but the walls are thin and I can hear his voice, and I'm like, did he just say that? I'm like, what kind of operation is his company running? I confronted him too. I'm like, are you doing fraudulent work? And he's like, no, 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 I would never do that. I'm like, okay. Because you said you were transferring to the fraud department, and I'm like, are you actually doing fraud? Because he works for a bank, and he was saying, oh, if you lost your debit card, just give me your Western Union information. I'll Western Union you the money. And I'm like, I don't think a fintech bank does that. But there it was. And then he says other stuff. I'm like, what is he saying? And I don't know. So there's that. There's just this whole world. I feel like I'm in a whole false world. And I don't see anybody I really care about or used to see anymore. I don't see LDS people anymore. They're all gone. And I'm not laughing. I don't know where they've gone. I'm like, did they leave me behind? Please don't leave me behind. I miss you so much. I called my friend. Well, I met with Ryan, and he seemed okay. He seems to be struggling too. You could tell his eyes were a little sunken in, and he his voice moved around a little bit too. But it was good to see him. We went to this vegan place, which had changed a little bit, called Kappa. but it was cute. I Divisadero. Who knows? So then I called his mom about maybe joining the church, and she seemed like she'd aged 20 years. She sounded so old, but she was so cute, and she's such a sweetheart. She kept calling me a sweetheart. Like, oh, oh, I just miss her. But she reminded me, if you do this, you're going to be alone your whole life. And, if you ever went back on that, they could take you to church court. She's like, I think the same thing about Andy and Ryan all the time. I'm like, I know. I know. But I'm thinking about it. I wish I don't my beliefs don't strictly align with theirs 100%. I feel like if I'm like non-denominational LDS, like if I could put them together, that would probably work. But I do think I might try to go to the Catholic Church here soon, just kind of fill that out. I want to start going to a church. I wish I had someone I could go with. But anyways, blah 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 blah, right? Yeah. So I might be going to Diamond Tree. I just have some reservations about it. Past life stuff or other life stuff. It's like, because I keep being told by some people, you just need to walk away from this life. You keep finding yourself in the same type of situations with the same people, and they're not bad people, but you're like, you need to just break free. You just need to walk away from this life. Just do something totally new. I'm like, I can already see the stuff with Diamond Tree, like setting up and remembering stuff. And I'm like, maybe I shouldn't go. I mean, it would be not, I'd like really wanted to get out of my apartment and my parents' house because it's really hard to be in those places when I hear all that and I feel that energy draining and the weird sensations on my skin um but and I can't focus and I've got all this psychic telepathic stuff going on. I'm like, I just need to stabilize. It's a good place. It would really help. I could really use it right now. But now I'm like, I don't know if that's what I should do or if I should just take 10 days at my apartment and just quarantine and just focus on trying to do it myself. And I'm like, do I just need to up and leave? Do I just need to like move to Arizona or California or Wisconsin or Ogden and just leave the apartment behind? I just can't see myself there another 3 months. But anyways, I don't know. So that's kind of how that's going. I sorry, I keep hearing things. So I think we're gonna jump back to A Course in Miracles. Like I said, I still feel like this changed when we got to one of these places a little bit. Like we have an older iterations version, but we're gonna go ahead and give it a try anyways. So I have chapter 13, The Guiltless World, section 2, The Guiltless Son of God. The ultimate purpose of projection is always to get rid of guilt. Yet, characteristically, the ego attempts to get rid of guilt from its viewpoint only. For much as the ego wants to retain guilt, you find it intolerable. Since guilt stands in the way of your remembering God, whose pull is so strong that you cannot resist it. On this issue, then the deepest split of all occurs. For if you are to retain guilt, as the ego insists, you cannot be you. Only by persuading you that it is you could the ego possibly induce you to project guilt, and thereby keep it in your mind. Yet consider how strange a solution the ego's arrangement is. You project guilt to get rid of it, but you are actually merely concealing it. You do experience the guilt, but you have no idea why. On the contrary, you associate it with a weird assortment of ego ideals, which the ego claims you have failed. Yet you have no idea that you are failing the Son of God by seeing him as guilty. Believing you are no longer you, you do not realize that you are failing yourself. The darkest of your hidden cornerstones holds your belief in guilt from your awareness. I'll speak on a couple things in a minute. For in that dark and secret place is the realization that you have betrayed God's Son by condemning him to death. You do not even suspect this murderous but insane idea lies hidden there, for the ego's destructive urge is so intense that nothing short of the crucifixion of God's Son can ultimately satisfy it. It does not know who the Son of God is because it is blind. Yet let it perceive guiltlessness anywhere, and it will try to destroy it because it is afraid. Much of the ego's strange behavior is directly attributable to its definition of guilt. To the ego, the guiltless are guilty. Those who do not attack are its enemies because by not valuing its interpretation of salvation, they are in an excellent position to let it go. They have approached the darkest and deepest cornerstone in the ego's foundation, and while the ego can withstand your raising all else to question, it guards this one secret with its life, for its existence depends on keeping this secret. So it is this secret that we must look upon, for the ego cannot protect you against truth, and in its presence the ego is dispelled. In the calm light of truth, let us recognize that you believe you have crucified God's Son. You have not admitted this to this terrible secret because you would still wish to crucify him if you could find him. Yet the wish has hidden him from you because it is very fearful, and so you are afraid to find him. You have handled this wish to kill yourself by not knowing who you are and identifying with someone else or something else. You have projected guilt blindly and indiscriminately, but you have not uncovered its source. For the ego does want to kill you. And if you identify with it, you must believe its goal is yours. I have said that the crucifixion is the symbol of the ego. When it was confronted with the real guiltlessness of God's Son, it did attempt to kill him. And the reason it gave was that guiltlessness is blasphemous to God. So I say, I guess the crucifixion is the symbol of the ego. Okay, yeah, I see that. To the ego is God. And guiltlessness must be interpreted as the final guilt that fully justifies murder. You do not understand that any fear you may experience in connection with this course stems ultimately from this interpretation. But if you will consider your reactions to it, you will become increasingly convinced that this is so. This course has explicitly stated that its goal for you is happiness and peace. Yet you are afraid of it. You have been told again and again that it will set you free, yet you sometimes react as if it is going to imprison you. You often dismiss it more readily than you dismiss the ego's thought system. To some extent, then, you must believe that by not learning the course, you are protecting yourself. and you do not realize that it is only your guiltlessness that can protect you. The atonement has always been interpreted as the release from guilt, and this is correct if it is understood. Yet even when I interpret it for you, you may reject it and do not accept it for yourself. You have perhaps recognized the futility of the ego and its offerings, but though you do not want them, you may not yet look upon the alternative with gladness. In the extreme, you are afraid of redemption, and you believe it will kill you. Make no mistake about the depth of this fear, for believing that in the presence of truth you might turn on yourself and destroy yourself. Little child, this is not so. Your guilty secret is nothing, and if you will but bring it to the light will dispel it. And then no dark cloud will remain between you and the remembrance of your Father. For you will remember his guiltless Son, who did not die because he is immortal. And you will see that you were redeemed with him, and have never been separated from him. In this understanding lies your remembering, for it is the recognition of love without fear. There will be great joy in heaven on your homecoming, and the joy will be yours. For the redeemed Son of Man is the guiltless Son of God, and to recognize him is your redemption. So interesting. I got a lot of people in my mind saying, "We've heard this before. We remember this reading." And I think I do too a little bit. But I think somebody's like, "It's Lucifer." No, people are crazy. So basically, he's just saying that the reason why Jesus Christ was crucified as God's perfect Son is because of the ego. So the crucifixion never would have been necessary if the fear and doubt, anger, punishment, blame, shame, guilt, lies, manipulations, those things had never existed. God, what is of heaven, what is of perfect love, doesn't blame and doesn't cast shame, doesn't assign guilt, doesn't punish, or any of those things. Always uplifts, always extends love, always transforms, always brings to truth, always offers joy and peace and abundance. So the crucifixion is a symbol of the ego, because if it weren't for the ego, the crucifixion would have never been necessary. But the crucifixion hates or fears perfect love. And so the crucifixion, the ego required the crucifixion. And of course, Jesus Christ, knowing that the ego so firmly believed in crucifixion, agreed to undergo or experience being crucified so that the ego could know that, okay, it's done. The price is paid for everyone. And so now this is no longer necessary because the forgiveness is extended to each and every single one of you. But the ego has a really hard time letting go of punishment and persecution, shame, blame, guilt, all of these things. And so it keeps trying to crucify God's Son. Who is you, right? Who is me? Who is all of God's children here? We're all one with God's perfect Son, who is Jesus Christ. And if you talk to a lot of people out there, a lot of people do still blame Jesus Christ for things that have happened in their lives, or for the sadnesses or injustices of the world. And a lot of people would still try to crucify him, which is really concerning. But that's just where the ego's at with a lot of people. So it's our job to bring it closer to truth and to forgiveness, to love and letting go, to release from fear, and to the embrace of truth. Um, so, and you do not realize that it is only your guiltlessness that can protect you. So, he talks here about the atonement. Um, that it's the release from guilt so that the final verdict for all of us will be that we're guiltless. We may not, and I just each and every single one of you out on planet Earth, right? We're all born sinners, right? That's the common way for a lot of people to look at it. And so, some people say, well, you know what? We're all created perfect, right? We're all created perfect. And while we're here in time, we really seem to have made a lot of mistakes. And so we don't want to be it's so we start to see each other as Christ sees. And what a strange this is a strange I remember feeling this whole interview. It's a very awkward, not interview. What is this? Just a video journal. It's very awkward. um so what was I saying? Oh, guilt. So, in the final judgment, we should embrace the final judgment that um by turning away from wickedness and choosing the love of God, the peace of God, the light of Christ, um, Christ's principles, wherever we're at in our relationship with Him, or developing those in our lives, we've having chosen them and trying to do the best we can each and every day, and um, all of those sort of things. Speaking to Him morning and night, um, and just trying to take each day, remembering that choice, that we should look forward to His judgment in seeing us not as perfectly innocent, but as guiltless, and releasing us from punishment or death, right? Because there is no death. And we all look forward to life, right? Real life. So, for the redeemed Son of Man is the guiltless Son of God, and to recognize him is your redemption. So, to recognize someone as a guiltless child of God, or some might even say a perfect child of God, as we look upon one another, we just start to see each other. Okay, well, that's a child of God. That's a child of God. That's someone who's perfectly loved. That's someone who carries the light, who Christ abides within, who has the peace of God, um, and is able to offer that to the world. If we only see that for them and see that for ourselves and see that for each other, we can continue to bring that forth into people's awareness and into their thoughts, their minds, their words, their actions, their dreams, their lives. So it's in doing that we find our redemption, that we are released from the chains of judgment or fear or doubt or uncertainty. So I think that's kind of what he's saying there. That's my take on it. But it's just interesting to, yeah, it's interesting to read because I know that I feel like I've read that before. Um, so it's all very awkward. See, that's why this next one, the fear of redemption, this first sentence, it's just off. So I don't know if this was, I don't know what's going on here, but I'm like, did somebody change this? Somebody change this? I think somebody did. Which is really frustrating. Because I want to keep reading it, but but just reading that right there was like, I felt like I was like doing someone else's reading. So, anyways, I yeah. Oh, I mean, yeah, like I oh, I'm ready to go to bed. So, tomorrow is Sunday. I'm hoping to have a good day. I'm hoping to have a great night rest, nice restorative night of sleep. And we'll see what tomorrow brings, but I love you all so much. Happy New Year, happy 2021. I'm hoping it's a great year. And I love you and have a wonderful night. Bye.